Watch this.
It wasn't that long ago it was eradicated across the country. Now measles seems to be coming back with a vengeance. Even Idaho is not immune. And thanks to dropping vaccination rates, health leaders say the virus may be here to stay. He helped take it from a single warehouse store on the Boise bench to more than 140 across the West. We take a look back at how the former CEO of Winco and its employees changed the grocery game. Are you ready for some cake, cattle, and roll? Or maybe some ice cream and horsepower? We're heading out to the Western Idaho Fair. Throughout the 20th century, there were more than 500,000 cases of measles reported each year in the United States. Then in 1963, the same American doctor who won the Nobel Prize for his work with the polio vaccine developed a vaccine for measles, which has been responsible for saving tens of millions of lives. In fact, less than 40 years later, in the year 2000, measles was considered eradicated in the U.S. It was also around that time a study tried to link the measles, mumps, rubella vaccine to causing autism. However, it was riddled with scientific errors, the study, yet it took until 2010 to strip that study from the scientific record, which still left plenty of time for that disproven theory to spread like a virus through the anti-vax community, which is why we've seen waves of measles outbreaks since then. More than 200 cases in 2011, 667 in 2014, capped by the Disneyland outbreak, nearly 400 in 2018, followed by more than 1,200 in 2019, the highest total in nearly 4 decades. That outbreak covered 31 states, including Idaho, for the first time in nearly 20 years. Well, here we are in 2025, only 8 months into the year, and we've already surpassed that number nationally. And this week, Idaho confirmed its 3rd case of the year. Not nearly as many as we saw in 2023, but as Aspen Shumpert learned, the uptick could mean other cases are still out there.
We are worried that measles might be here to stay.
Wednesday, the Idaho Department of Health and Welfare confirmed the state's 3rd case of measles this year. All of them within this month.
Going from 0 to anything is of concern, right? We've gotten used to this world where we don't have to think about measles. So we are very concerned to see these 3 cases, especially since they don't appear to be related to each other. We think this is a sign that there are more cases to come.
Dr. Christine Hahn, an epidemiologist at the Department of Health and Welfare, says before this, Idaho hasn't had a case of measles since 2023.
And even that was an unusual event. We really have not seen a lot of measles in the last years in Idaho.
Dr. Hahn says the 3 cases this month were all children, and from their investigations, it appears all 3 were also unvaccinated for measles. The first case was confirmed earlier this month in eastern Idaho, the second in Kootenai County last week, and a third in Bonner County Wednesday. On top of those confirmed cases, the measles virus was detected in Coeur d'Alene wastewater on July 29th.
Which suggests there are people infected in the community. So we know that measles is circulating. I would especially urge folks in northern Idaho to pay attention to this. There are communities in northern Idaho that have very low rates, and to really consider the vaccination, yes.
Dr. Hahn says they have seen a decrease in vaccinations for measles across the state post-pandemic.
We think the pandemic, some people just missed their shots during the pandemic because people were just hunkering down in place and not getting in for their routine appointments. Some of those kids never got caught back up. But also I think there's just a growing vaccine skepticism and hesitancy, mistrust of the information that people are getting. We understand that people made decisions and at the time based on the fact, well, gee, there's no measles, why would I vaccinate? Well, measles is back. So we do hope that people take the time to reconsider.
But Dr. Hahn says measles remains one of the most contagious viruses we know of.
It can be very serious from the standpoint of it can cause pneumonia, it can cause a brain infection, it can cause severe high fevers leading to seizures, and very, very severe outcomes, landing the kid in the hospital, and potentially, very rarely, the child could die from the measles.
And the 3 cases this month signal a pivotal moment.
We seem to be shifting now in the United States where we're starting to see it circulate more, and we just want the public to think about how they've been thinking about measles and rethink it. Now it seems to be much more present. The risk seems to have changed.
These 3 cases, Dr. Hahn says, were before school started for these 3 kids, but it is back to school season now. With that, there is a higher risk to contract the disease.
And I think with all these outbreaks that we've seen since the year 2000, 90% of those that had come down with these cases were unvaccinated.
Yep.
And again, spread out through the entire country. But that spike of 10 in 2023, I mean, we don't know. We could get that again this year.
Yeah.
It's possible.
And like Dr. Hahn said, these 3 kids were unvaccinated, so urging people to kind of reconsider the vaccine at this point.
All right, we'll see what happens. Thanks, Aspen. Started as a single grocery store in Boise, and that little warehouse market grew into something much bigger. An employee-owned company with more than 100 stores across the West. Guiding much of that growth was a man named Bill Long. After nearly 6 decades tied to the store that he helped build, Long died this week at the age of 87. Hunter Funk looked into the legacy he built with Winco.
Back in 1967, according to Winco Foods, 2 Boise area businessmen, Ralph Ward and Bud Williams, founded a discount store on the Boise Bench under the name of Wearmart. Bill Long joined the company the very next year as a store manager, and over time, Long would help steer the chain through decades of growth. By the 1970s, Wearmart grew into a small chain of grocery stores mainly based in the Pacific Northwest, famous for low prices, flat carts, and grease pencils that customers had to use to write the price on each item. Long became president of the company by 1978. By the 1980s, after the passing of Wearmart's founder, there was uncertainty throughout the company. The employees didn't want to see their stores go away. They weren't wealthy business owners, though. So there was only one option: join together and take ownership of their stores. 1985, Bill Long was the company president and had helped lead the bold move where the employees bought the company, transforming Wearmart into an employee-owned business. By 1999, a new name was established, and it's what we know now as Winco Foods, which stands for the Winning Company. And it also contains the first letter of every state Winco originally called home. There's not a lot of interviews or photos of Long. He was rarely in the public eye, known instead for keeping a low profile and letting Winco's employee ownership model speak louder than he ever did. Under Long's leadership, Winco grew to dozens of stores across the West and is now the second largest employee-owned company in the United States. Today, the chain stretches from Washington to Texas, more than 140 stores strong. The current CEO says Bill was more than an accomplished businessman. He was a visionary whose energy, integrity, and commitment shaped Winco from its inception. As one of the most influential business leaders in the grocery industry, Bill helped establish the foundation for the employee-owned company that Winco is proud to be today. Long served as CEO and chairman of the board for more than 20 years. Even after his retirement in 2007, Long stayed connected, stopping in and watching the company he helped shape continue to thrive. And the Winco you shop at today is in part thanks to Long. That all started right on the Boise Bench.
Yeah, Albertsons, Winco. I mean, Boise's got a pretty good grocery legacy, but you also can't get much more local than Winco unless you're talking about feeding your face with Western Idaho Fair food. We're talking corn dogs, turkey legs, maybe a scone or 2, or a deep fried candy bar. And if you still haven't partaken in any of those yet this year, today might be the day to head down to the fairgrounds. It is KTVB Day at the Western Idaho Fair, and that's where our team is. Down there now, we're going to bring in Hunter Funk, who's going to show us how, well, another classic Idaho favorite, a delicacy, is made. Hunter, take it away.
Yeah, Brian, you named all those foods. I can smell all of them, but the one right now that is getting me drooling is the ice cream Idaho potato. We're gonna take a look. We are with Chef Lou.
You gotta say it right, though.
Oh, say it right.
Idaho ice cream potato.
Okay, ready? One more time.
Idaho ice cream potato.
Idaho ice cream potato. We are correcting on air. I like this. You just tasted it. How does it taste? I need you to describe this for people who haven't had it before.
It's so fantastic. Is that good enough?
Yeah, I actually like that. That's enough for me.
It's like an ice cream sundae. It's vanilla ice cream we roll in cocoa, bitter cocoa, and then we cut it like a potato, and then we put whipped cream on it, nuts and cookies, and put it on syrup, and it is really, really good.
You know, we have our reporter Tyson White, who we kind of have a little bit fun with because he is an Idahoan through and through, but he didn't know that it doesn't have potatoes in it, right?
Now, we get that question all the time. He's like, do you stuff ice cream in the skin, or is it really a whole potato in the ice cream? Is it the whipped cream? No, it's all ice cream 100%. It's been fooling people for 50 years.
Well, you know, I
got you.
I believe you. I'm ready to eat it, but I have one more question for you too. When it comes to just the history, I want you to talk to me about where you came up with this. This has been a legacy in Idaho for quite a long time.
Well, in 1944, the chef at the Gamekeeper restaurant, which is now defunct, which is now the Tavern at Bound Crossing, the Hawaii Plaza Hotel, made it for the governor at a governor's banquet. And then it just kind of disappeared for 30 years. And then when I was an apprentice chef at the Gamekeeper in 1975, a long time ago, we had it on the menu. It's called the Gamekeeper Surprise, but we made it with maple nut ice cream and topped it with almonds. Pretty basic. And then we took it off the menu and it just disappeared. So then when I moved to San Antonio, Texas in 1982, I called up the chef and I said, hey, can I do my own version of potato? He goes, well, we don't even do it anymore, so you can do whatever you want. And it wasn't called a potato. So anyway, I came up with Texas Tater. I called it Texas Tater. It got a lot of press. It went pretty good. And then I moved back to Boise in 1988, and then I trademarked the name Idaho Ice Cream Potato. So I have several trademarks on the name. People can obviously fake and make it, but they just can't call it ice cream potato. So I came up with the idea, the name, and formulated it and figured out how to make a bunch at a time because it was pretty hard to make singly. So now we can make about 1,000 an hour now.
So when it comes to the fair, about how many are you giving away? I guess compared to last year, how many did you give away?
We're right on pace with last year right now. Yeah, it's probably about 9,500.
Holy moly.
isn't that
Well,
crazy?
it smells incredible. Brian, I know you're a little bit jealous because like I get to sit here and just dig in. You see that though? Do you want some? Maybe I'll bring it back. It might be melted by the time I get back to you.
For sure it will. Often imitated, never duplicated. Hunter, we were talking about this yesterday. Somebody did try to duplicate this over in Winston-Salem, and they did it short term because it is a copyright. We just found that out. How were they able to do this? But they didn't call it the Idaho ice cream potato. I guess that's how they did it.
Yeah, you nailed it, Brian.
All right, well, now we know it is an Idaho original. Spent a little time in Texas, but now back in Idaho to stay. Thank you very much, Hunter. You know, they may have lost a few sponsors this year, but that hasn't stopped Boise's Pride Fest from feeling powerful. And the two biggest fires burning in southwestern Idaho right now continue to grow. Here's Richard Rodriguez with the 411.
An Oregon man pled guilty to 2 counts of manslaughter following a crash that killed 2 members of the Umpqua Community College softball team earlier this year. He made those pleas in court yesterday. Investigators say on April 18th, 32-year-old Jonathan Dowdy was under the influence when he crossed the center line and hit the team's van head-on. 19-year-old Kylie Jones from Nampa died at the scene. The team's head coach later died at the hospital. 8 other players were hurt. Dowdy pled guilty to a number of other charges, including driving under the influence. His sentencing is scheduled for September 11th. The rock fire near Donnelly is still growing. It has been burning for 9 days now. Level 2 Get Set evacuations are still in place for the West Mountain Road area. Tonight there will be a community meeting at 6 at the Donnelly Rural Fire Protection District. The rock fire, which started last week by lightning, has burned more than 2,700 acres and is 0% contained. It's burning near Tamarack, which forced the resort to temporarily close. However, it has reopened some operations. Fire crews anticipate growth of the north and west sides of the fire as the weather continues to warm up and dry out. Meanwhile, the box fire in Owyhee County continues to grow. As of this morning, it has burned more than 4,400 acres. It is now 45% contained. According to BLM Idaho, there are 160 people helping to fight the fire. There are no evacuation orders at this time, and there are no reports of structures burned. Boise Pride has announced the next theme for next month's festival, Our Pride, Our Power. The festival is happening September 6th and 7th at Ann Morrison Park. Boise Pride launched a crowdfund to help cover a big budget shortfall. If you want to pitch in, we have a link to donate in this story on our website, ktvb.com. That's the 411. On the 208, I'm Richard Rodriguez.
Welcome back to the 2-8. You're looking at a live look at the swings. One of my favorite rides at the Western Idaho Fair. Slowing down a little bit now, but it is KTVB Day at the Western Idaho Fair. That is one of the oldest things that happen in the summer across Idaho. I think it's like 128 years old or something like that. And speaking of history, let's bring back Hunter Funk. Because, Hunter, you have some history to tell us about right now, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know, smells of the fair. I'm going to keep talking about it, but you can smell the history over here. We are joined by John with the Idaho Antique Power and Farm Equipment. I want you to talk about, one, your club, but two, what's behind us, too.
About my club?
Yeah.
It's actually a bunch of old people. And I look at myself like I'm getting old, so... But it's actually a bunch of collections of farm and tractor engines, and a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll grab those things, fix them up, get them running, and then try to show them at shows. And I know a lot more people are getting older now, and so when they come by here, they look at like, oh, I remember that, or remember this. And so it's good to talk to them, and they actually bring stories up. So it's amazing how they bring those things up in history. So, but anyways, there's a lot of history here. And like, for instance, the engine in the back here, this big one, that one there came from Warren, Idaho in a mine. So when you look at history, Idaho history is a lot here. A lot of these tractors were on small farms, and that's how everything got started.
I mean, one thing we talk about too, daylight savings, right? That was because of the farmers and all of the, machines that we see here today. The other thing is these tractors over here. Tell me what's over here. How many are there?
There's over 30 tractors we got here this year, and a lot of them are John Deere's, Olivers, Massey Ferguson's. They're from like the 20s and 30s. And there were smaller tractors for the smaller farmer that ran 20, 30, 40 acres, 50 acres. And so it made them more productive. As soon as the tractor was introduced and they were able to buy those tractors, they were able to make their farmers bigger and more productive as far as bringing food to the tables.
Okay, and then I do have to ask, what got you into this? What kind of inspired you to be a part of this?
It was my grandfather. I started back in 1976 as a little kid, and I've been collecting engines since then. So all over, a couple years ago, I found an engine up in Indian Valley, Idaho, and it ran a pump that for to supply water for the house before the power got up there.
How old was that?
I think that one's like 1917.
I mean, we're talking about engines that are 100 plus years old. It's just incredible to see. I guess for anybody who comes by, what do you hope they get out of this?
A little bit of education. They seem to get pretty excited because it's old technology. And when they look at it, like, how in the world they figured this out, and you explain to them how they run, and they go, okay, I understand now. Because, back then things were kind of crude when they built them. But when the farmer could have a small engine to grind their corn and shell their corn and grind their wheat and pump their water and saw their firewood, it made things a whole lot better for them. So life actually improved quite a bit in the early 1900s when they started buying these motors.
Yeah. Well, thank you, John, for giving us a ride through some history with the antiques. Now we're going to send it over to Audrielle with a ride through our weather temperatures.
Yep, thanks, Hunter. It is hot out here, but it's perfect ice cream eating weather, and it's going to get better the rest of the evening. We're getting to the hottest time of the day right now, but once that concert starts, the sun starts going down, it's just going to get even better. Really pleasant night ahead of us. Let's look at what's coming the rest of the week, though. It's going to stay hot. It's going to stay dry. Lots of sunshine for the next several days. We do have threats of triple digits on Saturday. We could see 100 degrees in several cities throughout the Treasure Valley, all the way down further south to the Magic Valley. Mountains might be the place to escape this Saturday, where it will be a little bit cooler. But we do have some good news. We're looking at storm chances returning at some point next week. It looks to be as early as Sunday that we could see some rain, maybe some storm activity in the Treasure Valley. Chances are low right now, but not out of the question. And then those chances are going to return for a couple afternoons next week. If we look at current temperatures right now, it is in the 90s throughout the Treasure Valley. Right now, it's about 94 degrees here at the Western Idaho Fair, so it is hot right now, like I said, getting closer to the hottest time of the day, but that means temperatures will get pretty comfortable pretty soon. And if we look at the trend over the next 5 days, we will trend upward for a couple more days, continuing to see that heat build. Now, we've had really light winds today, so not much relief from the heat there. Tomorrow, Friday, our winds will become southerly, so that's going to help our temperatures start to climb even further. We also have that ridge of high pressure centered over the four corners, bringing our temperatures up. That's going to continue to build all the way through Saturday as well, making Saturday the hottest day of the short-term period. Then Sunday into next week, that's when we can look at those temperatures starting to decrease. If we take a look at the 7-day forecast, you can see that we are expecting some patchy smoke around the region tomorrow. It's still going to be very hot in Boise, 96 degrees. We know we're watching multiple wildfires burning around the region, west central mountains, northern Nevada, even northern Idaho wildfires. So that smoke is going to be something that we continue to see come and go. We'll be back after this.
All right, we got this comment from B&B in Nampa saying it's 2025, and instead of leaping forward, we're heading backwards in every way. Vaccines have saved millions of lives. I really wish anti-vaxxers got better educated before someone they love gets very sick. It is predominantly those that are not vaccinated that end up with measles these days. My mom would shop at Walmart. When I was growing up, using the grease pencil was a great job for a kid. I didn't even know that happened today. You would write the prices. A typical warehouse, nothing was done. No frills at those Walmarts. Enjoyed Hunter's Winco story. Why is there the one in Fruitland still called Walmart? Actually, I just looked this up because I had no idea. There are 3 Walmarts by Winco left. All 3 of them in Oregon. They're smaller. No deli, no bakery, but they still exist. You can find them in Ontario, not Fruitland.
Continue with us and watch free now on the KTVB Plus app everywhere you stream.